Hey guys, good morning. Um, I have been thinking about making this video for a long time, and I haven't had the time. I thought about writing things down. I thought about, you know, scripting it, and quite frankly, I just decided to basically speak from my heart. So the subject that I would like to talk about is obviously, what happens when you find out that your child has autism. What now? And that is a terrifying question because quite frankly a lot of us basically when we find out that one of our child or a child of ours is diagnosed with this disorder, we tend to think that life is over. We tend to think that the life of your child, the dream of the child that you have or that you thought you had, is dead. And so now you are confronted with the reality of having a child that's labeled as disabled or having a disability, which quite frankly, I think that humans tend to try to put people on boxes so that they can understand them better. Because I guess we get more comfortable by basically boxing people into different categories in life rather than basically just respecting and loving the person for who they are, which would be the right thing to do, but obviously that's not what we do. So basically, what I would like to talk about is the fact that now you find out that your kid has this condition, that there is so much stigma around it. And quite frankly, it is terrifying because now you realize that there are some aspects of the condition that are not the norm. For example, the fact that your child basically will engage in, playing by themselves. One thing that you will notice is that almost all of the children that have this condition, you will see that when they're little, they start putting things on a road. Like if they have a set of cars, what they will do is instead of basically playing with the car back and forward, then now they put the cars in order, one in front of the other, and they tend to do these things with a lot of things. That would be cans, that would be anything that basically there is a lot of. They tend to put in lines, and that's something that you will notice. Another thing that you will notice is the fact that they don't make eye contact. You will talk to your kid, and it's like they're not there. You calling them, and you will notice that they might, out of 10 times that you call them, they respond once by looking, because there is a sound, but they don't understand what the name means. It's just a sound. So they don't realize that what you call it, calling them basically means that you would like to get their attention. And so sometimes parents get frustrated. Another thing that you will notice is that it's very um, complicated for them to be able to make eye contact. And a lot of theory has been, there are a lot of, hypotheses about it and theories. But what they said is that the reason why children with autism don't look at a face and they feel uncomfortable is because a human face basically has so many things going on. So you have your eyes and your eyes move, and you have your mouth and your mouth move. And one thing that they cannot control is, like how to focus on one thing. And so when you have the eyes moving and the mouth moving, the background is a lot of things. Another thing that you will notice is the fact that sometimes you might come into a room, you turn on the light, they cover their ears because their ears are hypersensitive to sound. And believe it or not, one of the things that you will notice is that, again, it's not all of them because remember, autism is a spectrum. It goes from one end to the other. So one thing that you will notice is the fact that um, they will often basically, again, you will turn on the light in the room and they will cover their ears, or they will basically close their eyes. And the reason why and this is just speaking from my experience because I do have a child with autism, um, is that I believe that the light, and obviously if you think about it, when you buy, a light bulb, they have 40 watts, there is a 60 watts, there is 100 watts, and the higher the watts are, the brighter the light is. And I think that has to do with the fact that watts basically are what make the light bulb flicker or flash at a very rapid rate. And so that flash, they actually are able to perceive it. Think about this. if you notice a video about cars, like or even anything, you will notice that when the camera is looking at a video of a vehicle from the front and the lights are on, they're not on at, all the time. They flicker, and that basically has to do with the fact that that's how light works. It's basically on and on and on and on. And on. It's not a measure of just a constant thing, because light basically is, light bulbs or lights basically do that. Same thing with the sun. We might see the sun as something that basically is basically just like light all the time, but in reality there are photons that basically come off the sun, and that's basically what you see. So for kids with this condition, basically they are able to hear the flicker, and it basically sounds something like zzz, and you will see this light bulbs when the amperage gets really high or when it gets really low. You hear that sound on light bulbs, zzz, and they can hear that, and that I believe that the frequency of the sound bothers them. Same thing with sound, any sound. You get into a room and there is a lot of people talking at the same time. Again, you will see them basically covering their heads. One thing that I noticed with my kid was the fact that he usually got so frustrated that he would start banging his head on the floor. And I think that has to do with the fact that there is so much going on in their brain that they're not able to basically just filter it. Everything basically gets at once. It's like having earphones, right? And you listening to three different songs or five songs at the same time. That will drive you insane. So it's the same thing that happens to them. Again, this is my opinion, this is my observation, this is what I have seen. Um, so those are the things basically that you will notice. Also, listen to your doctors. Not completely, because you got to be able to also be rely on your observations as a parent, because your doctors are just gonna see your kid for 5-10 minutes, if that. But you got to be also become very very involved with your child as a whole. So you got to be able to see the patterns and what they do. One thing that I tell people sometimes when they're asking me, but you know what, what how do you define autistic people? The way that I look at people with autism, or the way that I actually make sense of it, is think about this. You have PCs, for example, and then you have, an Apple computer. Most of us will know how to use a PC because this is when we go to school, we go to high school, we go to college. That's mostly what they use is PCs, and so we learn how to use, Word, Excel, and such. We might basically be hired then by a company that uses Apple. It's a computer, but it is a different operating system. So you have to learn how to navigate the world now with a new computer that has a different software. So think about that. Every child with autism, again, think about the fact that it's a spectrum. Every child with autism has a different operating system. So that's the way that you look at it. You got to basically jump in with them, try to go into the world or into their world, and try to interact the way that they interact. And by doing that, you'll be able to basically also try to put them into your world. Because if you don't understand how they communicate, how they learn, it's going to be impossible for you to be able to actually teach them. Um, Another thing also that I would tell you is don't baby your child. What I mean by that is don't shield them from the world. On the opposite, you have to expose them to the world, because one of the things that we feel when we find out that we have a kid that is different is that we feel shame, we are afraid of what other people might say. And the reality is, at the end of the day, no one is paying your bills, nobody. So you have to become your child's advocate. And there were times that you basically just stop going to places. Listen, if you have friends, right, and they pull away from you because of your kid having this condition, those were not your friends. If you have people that basically get don't understand. Also, you have to be mindful of it, that there are a lot of people that don't understand fully this condition. They just think that your child is rowdy or that they're misbehaving. If you feel comfortable with the person, if the person is, I would say, compassionate, you can say, you know what, I'm sorry, my child has this condition. If you want to do that, you don't have to, but you could do that. Another thing is you got to make sure that your child, even with this condition, they learn manners. You know what? How to say thank you, how to say please. I know that a lot of our children with this condition don't have verbal abilities, but that doesn't give, having this condition and not having an ability doesn't mean that you have to be rude. Now, there are kids that are severely autistic, and in those conditions, I feel for you and I understand it. But you do have to understand that if you do not pull or push your kid out of their comfort zone, they are not going to be able to become the better part of, the better person that they can become. There are constraints, there are limitations, obviously. And I think we all have that. But you got to be able to basically get your kids or your children, with this condition, out of the comfort zone. A lot of what things that you will see is that we parents will basically just give an iPad to our kids and say, "Psst, forget it, here we go," and they will basically immerse themselves into this world because this is something that is basically not three-dimensional. This is just, you know, two-dimensional. And so they're very comfortable looking at pictures because it doesn't have a lot of the things, for example, perception and depth and color, all these things that are confusing. They can basically just create this thing to just want a picture, something that is not multidimensional. I beg you, don't allow them to become just robots in an iPad or, this kind of thing. Also, one thing that I would tell you is you will notice that they love crunchy foods. And one of the foods that they love the most, I don't know why or how they become aware of this, but it's McDonald's French fries. I'm, for no reason, I'm not, giving any kind of advertising but this is something that I have noticed. You know, my son, for some reason, basically, even when he was a child, this was the preference. They love French fries. They love pizza. They love everything that's crunchy. They have problems touching things that are smushy, like where you notice that they will not eat a banana because it's just the texture. It's something that they're not used to, but you have to expose them to these different things so that they can become, a calloused forms in their, consciousness that these things are okay. And remember, the more I know that you will be almost like to keep your kid in a bubble. Don't do that. Do not do that. You want to be able to expose your child to things that makes them uncomfortable. I remember, my son had a teacher, great teacher, and she said something to us that she said, well, don't teach them, you know different two languages. Just English will be fine. And obviously, you can tell that I have an accent and I am of Hispanic descendants. And I said to myself, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to expose them to as many, things that we can. And so, the more a child has a very plastic brain, they're able to pick up things very rapidly. And just because a kid has this condition doesn't mean that you just don't push them so that they can learn other things. I beg you, expose them to things that makes them uncomfortable because the more you do it, the more natural it becomes, and the more they become relaxed around these things, and the more you'll be able to push them along because they understand that there will be tasks and there will be other things that you have to do in order to get the things that you want. Um, Try to learn from apply behavioral therapy. I believe it's ABA, not to get too technical, but try to apply. And basically, what people that or therapists that do that, what they will do basically is that they will take a task and they will break it down into smaller routines so that they basically you can go from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, and then the child learns how to do the whole thing in a sequence. That's very important. Become your child's teacher. No one will know your kid better than you. That's the reality. Yes, there are professionals, there are people that are basically go to school for this, but they don't have a child with this condition that they are caring for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you have to become also your child's teacher and see how they learn. And so that when you have, let's say, the therapist in your home or you take into therapy, here in New Jersey, we have, this is, our state is great when it comes to therapy. They do have a lot of programs and a lot of things that basically help parents with the condition. So New Jersey is an amazing state, but you have to be involved in the learning process of your kid. Sit down in sessions if you can, and see what they do, and also do those things. Talk to the therapist and say, "Hey, listen, I have noticed that if you do this, he tends to retain the information better." Other thing that is very important is a child with autism learns by repetition. They Repetition is a must. Hand over hand is something, a concept that you will learn. It's how to teach them. Let's say, for example, how to open a bottle. They might be just confused and look at it, but if you do it hand over hand, they understand the mechanics, so they can do it. Hand over hand, repetition is very important. Something that you have to learn. Um, this is something that I'm basically embarking on. This is brand new, like I said. It's something that I wanted to be involved because I realize that there are a lot of people right now that perhaps are just realizing or finding out about this condition, and it's really hard. I took it really hard. My wife took it extremely hard when we find out. So I want you to understand, guys, that you're not alone. There are people out there like me, that I will open the doors for you to, contact me, and if you have questions, to reach out. Like I said, I live in the state of New Jersey. There are, you know, a lot of there is a lot of resources. Uh, One thing again that I cannot stress enough is you gotta become your child's advocate. You got to be relentless. You got to try to get as much, therapy time as you can, and as much as, if they give you this, try to push for more, because the more therapy that your kid gets, the better the outcome will be. We're not talking about your kid, will become the CEO of a corporation. Your kid might not get married. There are a lot of things that, it's a long journey. It's a very long journey, but you have to understand that if you don't do the work, they're not gonna do the things that you hope them to do. And remember one thing. This is the one message that I would tell you is this: be involved, and remember, their failures are your failures, and their triumphs and achievements become your triumph and achievements. Become one with your kid. Be involved, guys. My name is Miguel. um, I'm hoping to basically that we can go, on this journey together. We're gonna basically dedicate this to, the this thing, with obviously the theme or the subject of autism. You have my information, obviously, if you want to get in touch with me, I will put my information down below. And I hope you have a great day, guys. I hope that you have a good day. Just remember, finding out that your kids have this condition is not the end. Is not the end of the world. And I know that it's gonna hurt. You're gonna be, you will go through the process of, the grieving process. But understand that your kid is still gonna be an amazing person, an amazing human being, and they're gonna be funny. They're gonna make you laugh. They're gonna make you cry. They will stand up to you. They will say no, and those things you're gonna cherish. That's one thing that you will cherish. It will be the little things that parents with a neurotypical child, meaning a normal person, don't might not, like, celebrate the little things, like when they say for the first time, "I love you," or they call you mom or pop, come here, look at me. Those little things, when you see them do the little things, I promise you, I promise you, The joy that those the little things will bring to you will light up your life, light up your day, because they're amazing people. They just have a problem, obviously, of communication and social interaction, but they will be they will become what you put into it. If you put the work into it, it will show. If you don't, nothing's gonna happen. Guys, once again, my name is Miguel. Have a great day. Many blessings to everyone. And like I said, I'll put my information down below so that you guys, if you guys have questions or you guys have, concerns and things like that, I will basically try to get in touch with you. And I hope you guys have a great day. Again, there will be some words and a little slur, but this is something that I did, like I said, very spontaneous. So you can see I'm in my car. I'm about to go to work now. But I decided to basically do something for those parents again that feel lost right now and feel sad and feel, like the world is basically ending. Guys, I promise you, it's not. This is just, think about a breakup or a divorce or basically a separation. It hurts, but that doesn't mean that it is the end. And this is your child. This is for life. This is someone that you're gonna have for you maybe for the rest of your life. And sometimes they move on. So, like I said, hope you have a great day, guys. Blessings, many blessings. Love your kids, love your family. And if you need something, just get in touch with me. Bye.